Happy Friday, growing readers. We hope you all have had a great week. This evening for Storytime, I would like to share The Tortoise Shell and Other African Stories, retold by Geof Smith and illustrated by Brooke, Scudder, and published by Scholastic Inc. I hope you all enjoy these great African stories. This is The Tortoise Shell. Have you ever seen the crack pattern on a tortoise shell? This story from Africa tells how it got there. Tortoise stood in the doorway of his house. He watched his friend Vulture fly away. "I feel terrible," Tortoise said. He hung his head sadly from his shell. His shell was as smooth as a glass bowl. And we know, growing readers, that traditionally when we see a turtle, none of their shells are smooth as glass. They always have a very elaborate pattern. "Why?" asked his wife. "You just had a nice lunch with your friend." "Yes," he replied, "but Vulture always comes to our house. We never visit him," husband said. His wife, "How could Vulture expect us to visit him? He is a bird. He lives in the tallest trees of the mountains. We don't have wings. We can barely climb the hill next to our house." Tortoise nodded. "Yes, I know," he said. "He must think we are selfish friends. We should try to visit him. I must do something." "What? Are you going to grow wings?" his wife asked. She chuckled. "No, but I will think of something." What will he think of? He just wants to be a good friend, it sounds like, growing readers. He wants to show that he appreciates that Vulture comes to say hi. Tortoise thought for the rest of the day. Then he lay awake all night thinking. Suddenly, his head popped from his shell. "I have a plan," he said to his wife. "Wrap me up like a package in these big leaves. Vulture will come to visit today. Tell him that we are out of fruit. Say we would like to trade rice for his apples. He is a good friend. I am sure he will help. When he leaves, he will fly away with me and the rice." What do you think, growing readers? Think that's a good idea? Tortoise smiled at his plan. His wife rolled her big brown eyes. "This is a very silly idea," she said. No, her husband replied. "Think of how excited my friend will be. He will unwrap the package and find me inside." Later that day, just before lunch, Tortoise wrapped himself in palm leaves. His wife tied them up with string. At his usual time, Vulture flew down from the sky. He knocked on the front door. "Good afternoon," Vulture said. "Well, hello. My husband is not here," said the wife, as Tortoise had told her to. She heard Tortoise giggle inside the palm leaves. She tapped him with her foot. He has to be quiet. He can't make any noise. "I wish he hadn't gone. I am out of fruit. I can't go to market," she told Vulture. The tall brown bird scratched his head with his wing. "Is there anything I can do to help? Could we trade you for some apples? I will give you this parcel of rice." "I would be very grateful to you." Vulture said that would be fine. He took the package and said goodbye. With a few quick flaps of his wings, Vulture flew into the sky. Vulture flew higher and higher. Tortoise could feel the cold air. He wanted to see the view from the sky. He poked his head through the wrapping. "My, what a sight!" he cried. "Everything looks so small." He laughed hysterically. Vulture was startled. He let the package fall. Tortoise fell to the earth. Crack! He landed on his shell. It cracked. Since that day, Tortoise and Vulture have not been friends. You can still see the cracks in Tortoise's shell. And that's the Tortoise Shell story. How about we find out about another great story? This is Why the Frog Has No Tail. Frog has no tail. Did you know that frogs are born with tails, but they lose them as they grow up? This African story tells you why. And that's true, right, growing readers? We know that tadpoles have tails. Frog lived in a muddy hole by the edge of a lake. Every day, he watched the other animals come and drink. They were all so big, they barely saw him. The giraffe stood taller than a tree. The cheetah ran faster than the wind. The lion wore a golden coat. They all looked so beautiful. Frog felt like an old potato. One day, Frog visited Sky. He begged to look better. "Make me bigger," he cried. "Make me strong. At least give me a tail. All the other animals have tails." "Very well," Sky said. "I will give you a tail. You must watch over my special water hole. It never goes dry." Frog happily agreed. The next day, Frog went to the water hole. He walked by the water's edge. He made sure the animals saw his new tail. He became too proud of his tail. He was always showing it off. I don't know if that's a good idea, growing readers. This only got worse when summer came. The weather turned hot. The leaves fell from the trees. The tall grass turned brown. All the watering holes dried up. The one Frog watched did not dry up. The animals needed relief from the heat. They begged for a drink. "Go away! This is not your water," Frog snapped. "This is my watering hole." The animals complained to Sky. He couldn't believe that the little frog would be so unfair. He flew to the water hole to talk to Frog. He got quite a surprise. "Go away," Frog told him. "I'm in charge here. I decide who gets water and who does not get water." Sky couldn't believe his ears. He shook with anger. Then he waved his hand. Frog's tail was gone. Sky told Frog to hop away and never come back. To this day, Frog is still reminded of the trouble he caused. In the spring, when new frogs are still tadpoles, they have long tails. As they grow older and bigger, their tails become smaller and smaller. Soon the tails are gone. Now, that's our last story, growing readers. This is the sun, the moon, and the water. Have you ever wondered why the sun and moon are in the sky? This tale from Africa may tell you. Long ago, sun and water both lived on earth. They were good friends. They always got together at water's home. One day, sun asked water to come visit at his house for a change. "Oh, I would like to," water answered, "but your house is too small. Look how big I am. Look at the fish I carry. You need a much larger house to hold me." "Is that all I have to do?" Sun said. "That is no problem for a good friend." When Sun returned home that night, he told his wife Moon about his plan. This brought a big glowing smile to her face. "What a wonderful idea," she said. "Let's get to work." They began making their house bigger. They made the roof higher and made the rooms larger. After a few days and nights, they had finished. Sun and Moon asked water to visit them. "Are you sure there will be enough room?" Water asked. "Oh, yes," Sun said. "Everything is ready." The waves began to roll. Water flowed toward the house. Sun opened his front door. Water poured into the hall. It covered the floors. It filled every corner of the house. It rose up to Moon's knees. "Are you sure there's room?" Water asked. "A lot of me is left out here." "Don't worry," Moon said. "We still have space." Water spilled in through the windows. Tables and chairs floated from room to room. Water flowed over Sun's shoulders. "Surely there isn't enough room," Water cried. "The fish haven't come in yet." "Don't be silly," Sun said. He and Moon climbed the stairs to the next floor. "Bring all your friends. There's still room." Water kept coming and coming. Fish splashed in the dining room. Waves rolled across the kitchen. Soon water filled even the second floor too. Sun and Moon both told Water that there was still room for him to fill. They climbed onto the roof. As far as they could see, there was water rushing toward their house. This didn't look good. They felt anxious. Once again, Sun and Moon invited the water in. Then they quickly flew into the sky. The next time they looked down, water was covering their home. To this day, morning and night, they are still up there, watching water come and go as he wishes. And that is the end of the Tortoise Shell and other African stories. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you enjoyed these short stories. Everyone have a great weekend, and I hope to see you all on Monday.